What if I told you there's a place where childhood memories blur with impossible architecture, where empty swimming pools stretch endlessly under fluorescent lights, and where the familiar becomes unsettlingly strange? Welcome to Dreamcore, an aesthetic that's captivating millions online by tapping into something deeply universal, the way our dreams feel. Dreamcore isn't just another internet aesthetic, it's a visual language that speaks to the most mysterious part of human experience, our subconscious mind. These images feel familiar yet impossible, nostalgic yet unsettling, comforting yet eerie. They're snapshots of places that don't exist but somehow feel more real than reality itself. The term Dreamcore emerged from internet communities around 2020, but the concept it represents is as old as dreaming itself. These are images that capture the essence of dream logic, where perspective shifts without warning, where childhood toys appear in adult spaces, where time seems suspended and reality bends at the edges. Think about your most vivid dreams. They rarely follow the rules of waking life, do they? Rooms are bigger than they should be, hallways stretch impossibly long, familiar faces appear in unfamiliar places. Dreamcore captures this exact feeling through carefully curated imagery that seems to bypass rational thought and speak directly to our emotional memory. The visual elements of Dreamcore are deliberately unsettling in their ordinariness. Empty playgrounds at dusk, fluorescent-lit hallways that seem to go nowhere, swimming pools without water, childhood bedrooms that feel too large, mirrors reflecting nothing, stairs that lead to blank walls. These aren't horror images, they're something far more subtle and psychologically complex. The color palette is crucial to Dreamcore's impact. Muted pastels, harsh fluorescence, and that particular quality of light that exists in dreams, neither quite day nor night, but something in between. The lighting feels artificial yet natural, familiar yet wrong, creating an atmosphere that's impossible to pin down but impossible to forget. One of the most fascinating aspects of Dreamcore is how it triggers what psychologists call false memories. You might look at a Dreamcore image and swear you've been in that exact place, even though you know it's impossible. This happens because Dreamcore taps into archetypal spaces, the kind of environments that exist in our collective unconscious. These archetypal spaces include the endless hallway, the empty pool, the childhood bedroom frozen in time, the playground at twilight, the mall after closing. These aren't specific places, but rather emotional territories that we all seem to share. Regardless of our individual experiences, they represent universal feelings, nostalgia, isolation, wonder, unease, the passage of time. The psychological appeal of Dreamcore lies in its ability to make the abstract concrete. Dreams are notoriously difficult to describe. They slip away from language, resisting rational explanation. But Dreamcore gives form to the formless, creating images that feel like visual translations of the dream experience itself. There's also something deeply nostalgic about Dreamcore, but it's a strange kind of nostalgia. It's not nostalgia for a specific time or place, but rather nostalgia for a feeling, the particular way childhood felt, when the world seemed larger and more mysterious, when ordinary spaces could transform into anything through the power of imagination. The liminal aspect of Dreamcore is equally important. Liminal spaces are transitional areas, places between other places like hallways, waiting rooms, and stairwells. These spaces exist to be passed through, not inhabited, which gives them an inherently unsettling quality. In Dreamcore, these liminal spaces become destinations in themselves, frozen moments of transition that never resolve. Dreamcore also plays with scale in ways that mirror dream logic. Familiar objects appear too large or too small, rooms stretch beyond reasonable proportions, and perspectives shift in impossible ways. This manipulation of scale taps into childhood memories when the adult world seemed enormous and full of spaces too big to comprehend. The rise of Dreamcore coincided with a period of collective isolation and uncertainty. During the pandemic, many people found themselves spending more time in interior spaces, paying closer attention to the subtle atmosphere of empty rooms and quiet hallways. Dreamcore provided a visual vocabulary for feelings that were difficult to articulate. The strangeness of familiar spaces, the eerie quality of emptiness, and the way isolation can make even home feel surreal. Social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram became galleries for Dreamcore imagery, with users sharing photos and videos that captured this particular aesthetic. But more than just sharing images, people began creating their own Dreamcore content, using filters and editing techniques to transform ordinary spaces into something more dreamlike. The community aspect of Dreamcore is crucial to its appeal. People share these images not just for their visual impact, but because they create a sense of shared experience. Comment sections fill with people saying they've dreamed of these exact places, creating a kind of collective dream journal where strangers recognize each other's subconscious landscapes. Dreamcore has influenced other aesthetic movements too. Liminal spaces, poolcore, nostalgiacore. All of these draw from similar psychological wells, exploring the relationship between memory, space, and emotion. But Dreamcore remains unique in its direct connection to the dream experience itself. The creation of Dreamcore content has become an art form in its own right. Artists and content creators carefully craft images that balance the familiar with the impossible, the nostalgic with the unsettling. They understand that the power of Dreamcore lies not in shock or obvious strangeness, but in subtle wrongness. Details that feel slightly off in ways that bypass conscious analysis. Photography plays a huge role in Dreamcore, but so does digital manipulation. Artists combine multiple images, adjust lighting and perspective, add or remove elements to create spaces that feel photographically real but existentially impossible. The goal isn't to create obviously fake images, but rather to create images that feel like memories of places you've never been. The appeal of Dreamcore extends beyond internet culture into broader discussions about memory, consciousness, and shared human experience. Researchers in psychology and neuroscience have taken interest in why these images resonate so strongly with so many people and what they reveal about how our brains process spatial memory and emotional associations. There's something profoundly human about our attraction to Dreamcore. In a world that often feels overly rational and digitized, these images reconnect us with the mysterious, non-linear aspects of consciousness. They remind us that beneath our waking minds lies a vast landscape of feeling and memory that follows its own strange logic. Dreamcore also offers a form of escapism that's different from traditional fantasy. Instead of offering worlds of magic and adventure, it offers worlds of pure feeling, spaces where emotion becomes the environment, where the internal landscape of consciousness becomes something you can walk through and explore. The future of Dreamcore seems likely to evolve with technology. Virtual and augmented reality offer new possibilities for creating truly immersive Dreamcore environments. Spaces people can actually navigate rather than just observe. Artificial intelligence is already being used to generate Dreamcore imagery, creating endless variations on these archetypal spaces. But perhaps the most interesting aspect of Dreamcore is what it reveals about human consciousness itself. The fact that so many people respond to these images in similar ways suggests something profound about how our minds work, how we process space and memory, and how we create meaning from visual information. Dreamcore reminds us that reality is more subjective than we often acknowledge. The spaces in our dreams feel completely real while we're experiencing them, and Dreamcore images tap into that same sense of reality. A reality based not on physical laws, but on emotional truth. In the end, the allure of Dreamcore lies in its ability to make visible something that usually remains hidden, the landscape of consciousness itself. These images serve as maps to territories we all visit in sleep, but can rarely remember upon waking. Their postcards from the country of dreams remind us that beneath the surface of ordinary life lies something far stranger and more wonderful than we usually dare to acknowledge. Whether Dreamcore will remain a lasting cultural phenomenon or fade like so many internet aesthetics remains to be seen, but its impact on how we think about space, memory, and shared experience seems likely to endure. It's opened up new ways of talking about consciousness and created new forms of artistic expression that blur the lines between individual and collective experience. Dreamcore ultimately offers us something precious in our hyper-rational age: permission to trust in mystery, to find meaning in the inexplicable, and to recognize that some of the most important aspects of human experience can't be reduced to logic or explanation. In a world of facts and data, Dreamcore reminds us that feeling is its own form of knowledge, and that sometimes the most profound truths can only be glimpsed in the spaces between waking and sleeping, in the territories that exist only in the country of dreams. Subscribe for more deep dives into internet phenomena, psychology, and cultural trends that are shaping our digital world.